Hey y'all, Ali, Little Hill Craft Company. We started our Etsy shop over 2 years ago, and the first thing that we ever had in our Etsy shop were jar covers. We have a tutorial on the channel on how to make those. Then we added bowl covers, and we have a tutorial on the channel on how to make those. Well, a lot of people over the last 2 years have asked if we can make a 9x13 casserole dish cover. Well, I'm finally getting around to it. So most 9x13 glass pans like this, a lot of them have handles, and a lot are just a basic rectangle. But I want to give you an idea on how you can kind of manipulate it to make it work for your favorite 9x13 or 8x8 or whatever size casserole pan you want to make a cover for. I'm also going to show you guys two options for this. First is going to be 2 layers of cotton. Just get yourself 2. These are called fat quarters. This one I freaking love. It's little cows. I don't know who made this. I was gifted this from the Mennonite Farmhouse. It's another channel here on YouTube. And they're just fat little cows with birds on them. I mean, who wouldn't love that? But you can use 2 fat quarters. That's the easy way to go. Or if you're like me, when I put something in a 9x13, usually it's going to sit on my counter for a little bit. It needs to go in the fridge for a little bit. And you want to keep it moist. So I am going to be adding a layer of pull, P-U-L. It is basically like a lined fabric that makes it waterproof, and it doesn't breathe like cotton would. So your stuff's not going to dry out. So I'm going to be showing you guys how we do this, but the same rules would apply to cotton as pull. So here you guys go. Let's get started. So I got kind of lucky because my Pyrex dish came with a little plastic cover. And it kind of gives you a pattern to base this off of. So what I'm thinking is I want it to be able to fit on the top of my pan. So if you measure out the top of your pan, mine with the handle is going to be 15¼ one way by 9¼ the other. So mine has handles, so it's going to need to be a little bit larger. But what I figured out is if I take the side that they gave me like a little lip to pull up from, it gives me like the perfect shape for our casserole dish. But because of seam allowances and the channel that we need for the elastic and you want it to pull over the edge, I'm going to add 2 inches total to it. I'm hoping this is the right amount. We're going to find out. So I'm going to move my lid on I'm using my measuring thing here. And so I'm thinking it's going to be 20 inches by 14. So I'm going to cut a 20 by 14 inch square. And I think that's going to be the right size to make our casserole cover. What I was surprised with is when I went into a deep dive on these casserole covers is how many people want to charge you money for a pattern. Y'all, it's a square with rounded corners. We don't need all that fancy stuff. So I'm going to show you guys how you can do this without buying a pattern for free. Okay, so we need to cut a 14 by 20 inch square out of our fat quarter and then out of our pull. Let me slide down just a little so you can actually see me cut. Now elastic, that's a whole other story. So I'm going to line this up. I chose these cows just because they're so cute, but any basic one, this would be great. I was trying to get this video out before Christmas because I thought if you're going to somebody's house at Christmas time, how cute would it be to take them like, if you got a 9x13 pan at the thrift store and then put a cute cover on it, what a great way to gift cookies or fudge or whatever you're doing, right? So let me get my measuring thing here. Step 1, cut this. So I'm going to do 14. That gives me 1.5 inches to come down the sides. That's good. That should be good. With an inch channel, we're good. So I'm going to do a 14-inch cut on my rotary. I'm going to save this because I'm going to make a wristlet or something cute out of that. Then I'm going to turn my fabric the other way, and I am going to go to 20. That allows my handles to be fully covered, and it will grip around the edge perfectly. So 14 by 20 in our cotton. Now, if you're doing 2 pieces of cotton, both of them would be 14 by 20. In our case, we're gonna use this pull. And this stuff, like a lot of people have seen this in like reusable diapers from babies, like the little covers that they make them out of, or some people make waterproof bags out of this kind of stuff. So it's waterproof material. It's a little harder to sew, but I got you. So for us, I'm gonna trim off this edge because it always comes with this weird excess edge that we wanna get rid of. So let's trim that off first. Now I'm gonna line it up and I'm gonna cut at the 20. This stuff does grip, so make sure you lift your ruler when you're sliding it around or it'll stick. So I have 20 inches there. I'm gonna give it a turn and cut it by 14. So we're gonna have 2 equal pieces of fabric. So for this, if you're using cotton, it's not a big deal. You can use whatever foot you want on your sewing machine. If you're using pull, because it likes to grip to the machine, when we flip it on the outside and do the channel for the elastic, it will grip to the foot. So I recommend a walking foot for that part. So the other thing I thought is I don't want square corners on my final product. So I told you, this is how I do things. This is how I come up with patterns and make stuff up, is I bring you guys along in my weird little head. But by the end, you have a free pattern, and you've helped me because you guys give me great ideas. I'm putting my cotton on top of my pull, and I'm gonna fold it in half. Doesn't matter which way, it's just so that when I cut my corners and round them, I only have to cut them. I don't have to cut them as many times. Whoops, let me redo that. All right. The cotton's shifting, so that is not gonna work. Okay, don't do that. We're just gonna round the corners anyways. So, what I'm gonna use to round my corners is I'm gonna find something circular that I think is a good size. So to me, this is like a trimmer thing. You could use the bottom of an aerosol can. You could, whatever you've got that's a circle, you wanna use your elastic base, that would work too. And I'm gonna take a little marker and I'm gonna write, actually I'm just gonna rotary this. I'm gonna rotary it to make my corners rounded. Just rip. Okay, I have my first corner rounded. I'm gonna line this up on the corner and take it for a whirl. Okay, this is not cutting like I was hoping. I have a round cutter. Maybe I should go get that. Or you could trace it out like a normal person, maybe use some scissors, but you know, why are we doing anything normal? Nah. All right, I'm down on this corner now. Same thing, I'm gonna hold. So my rotary cutter is sticking to the pole is what is happening. Good to know. And I'm gonna turn this just for easy reaching. And do my last little corner. All right, so now I have rounded the corners of the whole thing. So it's basically a 14 by 20 rectangle with rounded corners. Not fancy, not complicated. Don't need to pay for this stuff, right? Let me grab my clips. So for pull, if you're using cotton, this won't matter. You can use pins. For pull, I recommend using these little clips. We get 100 of them on Amazon for like 10 bucks. And I'm just gonna clip my 2 fabrics together. If you wanna eyeball it, go for it. I prefer to clip it just for my sanity because the pull is slippery. By the way, I have right sides together. So on pull, there's like a soft side that's kind of just silky, and then there's a side that you can feel has a plastic to it. You want the plastic to be on the outside on the final product. So on this, when you're at this stage, you're gonna put it face in. Okay, we're almost there. Clips all the way around. Did I catch everybody? Let me give it a flip. I did. Okay, let me take you over to the sewing machine. And we're gonna do 1 stitch all the way around this at about 1/2 inch seam allowance, just to make sure we catch everything. So let's go do that with the walking foot. No, we can do it in the regular machine. We'll do it the regular machine for now. Like I say over and over and over, we have a Juki TL2000 QI. We have a regular foot on this, but if you're using that pull, the PUL fabric, it grips, and so you're going to want to use a walking foot. If you're using just straight cotton, you're fine this way. I use magnetic seam guides. I get them on Amazon. They just have a magnet on one side, so they stick to your plate and give you kind of, your fabric just bumps up against it while you go. I'm gonna go from the side first, giving myself a 1/2 inch seam allowance. That should grab all my fabric perfectly. And I'm gonna back stitch to start. That's gonna lock our stitch for later. Now I'm just gonna follow this all the way around. Go slow on your corners and just kind of turn it as you go. If you feel like, see how I'm getting kind of a bunch, I'll lift my foot and I will give it a turn. And continue on. Like I said, this pole has a different texture to it. So it's a little harder to sew than standard cotton. We use it often enough, but if you're using it, just make sure your stuff is staying lined up as you go. My beginning stitches here. I'm gonna leave enough that I'll be able to flip this. So leave yourself like 2 or 3 inches. It's kind of up to you. And I back stitch to hold my stitch. So I have it locked at the here and the here with a gap. So we're now gonna turn this right side out and flip it to see where we are. So you just easily just pull it through, you guys. It's not that difficult. If you want to trim your corners to make them more rounded, like more correctly, you can do that. I don't think we're gonna need to. I'm gonna push out my corners with my hand. Make sure you get all that bulk fabric pushed out on all 4 corners. Reach across, do the same thing. You can kind of hear the pull. It's got just a texture to it. That's what makes it waterproof. And my last edge. All right, now pull cannot be ironed. So we're gonna have to go over there and see if we can do our best to iron this without ironing it, if that makes any sense. Because I wanna have it flat enough to be able to work with for the next step. So let's go see if we can just hit it really lightly with our iron. Okay, so I'm gonna do cotton side up here, and I'm gonna try to roll this out so that I don't have any funky bulk things going on here. I want to get my seams pulled all the way out and my corners kind of pulled out so that we have a nice flat surface to work with. I think we're good. And my iron is on. Somebody got me this for Christmas. Actually, the same person that got me this cow fabric got me one of these. It's like a silicone mat, so you can leave your iron face down while you're like lifting up to sew, and it keeps steaming. I didn't think I needed it in my life, but now that I have it, it's really awesome. So I'm just gonna very quickly hit this with my iron, not long enough to melt that pole, but just long enough to get the cotton to kind of lose that bulk, like rolled look at the edge, and get it to kind of stick down a little bit. So very quickly, making sure I'm untucking my corners as I go. All right. And I don't hold it in one spot for too long, but just long enough to get done what I need to do. This corner is fighting me a little bit, so. All right. All right, I feel comfortable with that. I'm gonna find where my hole is. Let's see. Just kidding, I wanna roll this out just a little bit more. I didn't quite have it all the way out. Yeah, there's my seam. Okay, let me make sure I've got that pinned down really well. There, now my steam's going. I don't know why it took a second there to decide to join the party. This one corner is giving me a heck of a time. It's got like a bulk going on, so I'm gonna give it a really good roll. There we go. Get it untucked. Okay, so there's our rectangle with our cute little cows. Now we need to go sew the edge for the elastic. So let's go back to the sewing machine. So I'm gonna try this without a walking foot just to see if I can sew it or if I need to go get my walking foot. We'll find out pretty quickly if it walks or grips. I'm gonna set my magnet to the 1 inch mark. That's gonna give us a nice channel on the edge to run our bodkin through for our elastic. So pick a spot that you start, drop your foot and go. Let's see if this grips or if we need to use a walking foot. I think we're gonna be okay, y'all. I'm gonna try to follow the curve the best I can. All right, we're good. So for this one, because the channel is gonna be fully closed, I'm gonna go to where I started, cross over to tiny bit and backstitch. And that's gonna seal off that whole channel. Let me give that a trim. And let me go show you how we came up with our elastic size. All right, so you can see the channel now, 1 inch in on the whole side. Okay, let's go see our elastic. So I have my cover with the channel done. Now we need to figure out the elastic size. And so this is one of those, it's like the hardest part of the project, I think, because elastic, sorry, I'm cleaning up as I go. Elastic likes to slide when you try to measure for it. So when I did this originally, because I wanted to have a rough idea, I was like, oh, if I just hold it here, oh wait, it went underneath. Oh, it keeps going underneath. So I thought, okay, flip it over. Oh wait, it pops off. So what I finally ended up doing, and I'm hoping this works for you guys, I have a lid on mine. So I was able to put the lid on it. If you don't have a lid, find somebody to help you kind of hold it or use the little clips around the edge. That was the other trick that I figured. So for me, instead of measuring the whole thing around, I'm gonna try to do half and then times it by 2. That was the easiest way. So I'm holding it at like the halfway mark here of where I would want it to sit on the pan. And then I kind of was able to gently pull it to the tightness that you think you're gonna want. See how it stays now when you're doing only half of it? So I'm like, that's probably a comfortable amount for me. So I'm going to unsnap it and measure it out. So we're at 16 right now. I think I wanna do slightly tighter than that, because that would be 32. So I'm gonna aim for more like 30 to give ourselves like, it'll be tight, but not so tight. So I'm gonna go to 30 inches and try that. Don't worry, we will test this before we are done. So I have my cover, I have my elastic. Let me get my pan out of the way. You guys, wow, that's a lovely mess, told me you need to get bodkins. And the funny part was we had them already. The video that you guys kept telling me that in was an older video. So what is a bodkin? It looks like tweezers, but when you pinch the end together, it has this little piece that can slide up and it holds your elastic while you thread it through the channel. If you don't have that, go ahead and use a safety pin. It works just as well. It's a little slower than one of these, but it works really well. So I'm going to hook a little clip on the end of my elastic right here, so that it doesn't pull into that hole, and then we're threading for eternity. Then I'm gonna take my bodkin or my safety pin and hook it on the other end. So now we have that. Find your hole on your side, and we're going to put our bodkin in there and thread it all the way through that channel that we made, that 1 inch channel. Some people do it tighter. I like to leave myself a whole lot of room. The elastic that I'm using is 3/8 inches wide. One thing I will say, you don't want to put these in the microwave. Elastic doesn't do very well in microwaves. It does have polyester in it, so it can cause a fire. So just don't do it. Also, if you're gonna be doing this and you do want to put it in a microwave, you can't because it's cotton. But I like to use cotton thread on any fabric project that I'm going to be using in the kitchen, just because, you know, polyester can melt. All right, I'm threading as I go, and I keep pulling all the bulk down so it looks like a shower cap. a square rectangle shower cap. I'm back to my beginning. I'm going to pull my bodkin through. Okay. So I want to see if this is too much elastic or if it's a good amount. So I'm going to clip the end where the two meet and pull this to give it a shape. I have a feeling we're going to need to take a little off, but let's find out. Ooh, and I just lost my elastic. I was trying not to do that. Well, shoot. Let me redo that again. I could snag it with one of those little hooker things, but I don't want to risk tugging at the pole and putting a hole in it. So redo. Take my two pieces of my elastic again that we cut at 30. I'm guessing I'm going to need to go down. That's just a guess though. We're going to have to use some extra to fold it in, or to sew, but there's a bobby pin on there now. Bobby pin? That'd be weird, a safety pin. I'm going to stretch this out. Don't lose your safety pin in there. I'm going to stretch this out while holding it to see what our shape looks like. I'm just kind of cinching it down so that it's evenly distributed around the edges. Okay, let's put this on our pan and see what we got. Don't lose that. I'm going to put a clip on here just so I don't lose the safety pin and the clip in here. All right, so I'm putting this on. Whoop. The pole is kind of sticky, and it's not finished, so I'm trying not to lose it in there. Okay, untucking it, pulling it around. Let's see what we got here. It's over my handles very, very nicely. It's sitting right towards the bottom of my pan. My elastic is kind of bunched in my corners, so I'm going to spread it out just a little bit. Okay, so I'm thinking it's sitting well, it's pretty good. I think two things. On my final design, I'm going to round the corners just a tiny bit more because we ended up with a little bit more bulk than I would have wanted on the corners. And I think I'm going to remove about an inch from my elastic just to make it just a little bit more snug so that it holds a little tighter. So I'm just going to cut off 1 inch of elastic to get our final, just an inch, you guys. And I'm going to go take that and sew it. So let's go. I don't want to change the corners on this one now. I will do another one and I'll show you kind of the difference on the corners there, but it's just a touch bulky to me. But let's go sew this. So to finish our edge, I have my 2 pieces of elastic. I'm going to sew back and forth just to secure them, just kind of wherever. So it's secured now. I'm going to pull that in to our channel. And then what I'm going to do is, let's see, can I glide it this way? Yeah, I think I can. I'm going to sew that shut with the edge of my foot, and I'm going to go around the whole edge to finish it to make it look really clean and nice. Just like we do with our bowl covers, I feel like it just adds a finished look. It also gives you a chance to kind of find any bulk fabric that maybe you missed and pull it out. Yeah, I'm going to round those corners on the final version. All right, I'm almost back to the beginning, and I will go over where I already stitched, back stitch to lock it all in. All right, we're gonna trim our threads, and then we're gonna go test it out one final time, you guys. All right, let's go see what she looks like. Okay, so here's my finished cover. It's a rectangle, and it has elastic in it. So there you go. Let's put it on here and see what we think. So I took the 1 inch of elastic out, so our elastic ended up at 29 inches, and I said 3/8 inches is what I use. Yeah, see, it holds it just a little more snug on there with that 29 inches. So I'm comfortable with that. Yeah, what do you guys think? So it ended up being just a little bit bulky right here. So I would probably round my corners a little bit more in my final one, but it holds really nicely. You can see from the back, the pull is perfectly, like it's not touching the food. If I push down, it pops back up fairly easily. Let me bring it in and show you close. Okay, so here it is on the top and the side, but do you see it's like kind of bulky right here? I'm not loving that. So I would round this corner just a little bit more than I did so it doesn't do this. But overall, it fits really nicely on my pan and it's secured on the top. Like it's not going anywhere. My food's not gonna get, I mean, come on, did you see this cow fabric? This is not the cutest in the world. I mean, I just wanna hang out with these little guys. Anyways, so it's nice and tight here. I'm just gonna eliminate a little more corner when I do my final ones, and these will be, we're gonna be putting these in our Etsy shop, but if you needed a 9x13 casserole dish, if you're doing an 8x8, I would do a 10x10 inch square, do the same thing, round the corners. Let me bring you back out one more time. If you were gonna do like an 8x8 pan, I would do the same thing. I would do an 8x8 square, round the corners, and then measure out your elastic for that as well. But I use mostly 9x13s, so that's what I'm sticking with. But my final one, like I said, I will remove a little bit of bulk just to get rid of this little frilly thing we have going on the corners. But overall, I'm happy with it. Let me go sew one more, taking out some of this, and I'll see if it helps. I'll go do one more for you guys. Okay, so I made a second one, and I changed the shape of it. I cut off some of this corner bulk and kind of did like a cut off. Instead of rounding it like we did using this thing, I kind of, where the corners would meet, I cut a triangle out to make this one, thinking it would be less bulky. So I have my rectangle, but here, at the 3.5 inch mark, it starts to round and then it cuts off and then it rounds. I don't know if you need it round. You could probably just cut off at 3.5 inch, like dot 3.5, and cut that corner off. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not gonna cut another one, but that's what I would do to make it really easy, is cut your thing and then cut your corners at 3.5 inches. Okay, let me show you on a corner just so you know what the heck I'm talking about when I say that. So say, this is your fabric. I'm hoping I have 3.5 inches here. And that's your fabric. If this is your 14x20, I would line this up on like or measure in would probably be easier. Let's do that. At 3.5, I would put a dot. And at 3.5 this way, I would put a dot. And then I would line those two up. And that's the bulk that I would remove. When I did it, I would kind of just round that corner a tiny bit, then go across, and then round that corner again so that you get that look instead of that weird circle thing that I did. So let's try that and see what we think. I'm gonna go sew this really quick at the sewing machine. Again, I'm gonna use a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around, iron it, and then I'm gonna do the elastic channel again at 1 inch. So let me go run and do that. But I like it, but Shawn had a really difficult time putting on without the elastic continuing to pop back up from the other side. So although it fits a little nicer overall, doesn't have that bulk as bad, it's harder to put on. So overall, not as big of a fan of this style. So I won't show you how to do that one. But this one, we both agreed, is really easy to get onto your pan and it pulls down nicely. You can almost use that extra bulk on the corners to pull it down. So it ends up being almost like a little handle to get it to pull down on your casserole dish. So there you guys go. If you want to see the other version, I can totally show it to you. I just to me, and it was one that I saw other people do. It was basically using this kind of an angle on the corners versus that rounding like we did on this side. So it just didn't work as well to me. Plus it was a little bit harder to sew. So there you guys go. Anyways, thank you for coming along. I hope you enjoyed our cute little casserole cover. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Happy to answer anything, but basically here's what we did overall. We used 2 pieces. We had 1 cotton and 1 of the PUL, which is the waterproof, or 2 pieces of cotton, cut to 14 by 20 inches. We rounded that corner. I used a disc to cut around. You could use a water glass, you could use a mason jar, whatever, and cut just round that corner. We did our elastic at 29 inches. I used 3/8 inch elastic. I get it on Amazon because it's much cheaper than anywhere else. And that was it, you guys. I did a 1-inch channel for the elastic to fit through, and overall, I think it fits really, really nicely. So there you guys go. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this crazy, crazy journey. Anyways, if you don't want to make your own, these will be available shortly in our Etsy shop, and we appreciate you. Thanks, guys.